So, what do you think is the most important decision of your life? The most important decision, um, let's see, I think is what you will study at university or where you will live. No, no. How many children you will have? You think so? Well, let me tell you that is not correct. No, the most important decision of your life is not your career, it's not your money, and it's not where you live. It is who you choose to be with every day. Why? Well, because that one person will affect everything: the way you think, the way you feel, your energy, your confidence, your peace, even your future decisions. And the problem is, many people choose this person based on emotions in one moment, not based on how life really works long term. That's true, but I feel like people don't see it like that when they're in love because, everything feels good in the beginning and you don't really think about the future in a serious way. Exactly. And that's where most people make the mistake. They choose based on how they feel in the best moments. But life is not made of best moments. Life is made of normal days, stress, problems, routines, and difficult situations. And the real question is not, do I feel good with this person right now? The real question is, can I build a stable life with this person when things are not easy? I've seen this many times, not just in my life, but in people around me. Two people start a relationship. Everything is exciting, everything feels intense, and they think they found the right person. But then real life starts: work, stress, responsibilities, money problems, family issues, and suddenly that same person is not so perfect anymore. And that's when you realize something important. Feelings are not enough. I see. So, what should people look at instead? Because emotions are strong and it's hard to ignore them. You don't ignore emotions, but you don't trust them completely either. You observe patterns, behavior, reactions, especially in difficult moments. Let's see. For example, how does this person react when they are stressed? Do they communicate or do they shut down? Do they support you or do they make things harder? Because listen, that is the real version of that person and not the one you see when everything is perfect. Another thing people don't think about is compatibility in daily life. This is very important, not just hobbies or music taste, but real things like habits, routines, and priorities. Because let me tell you, love feels strong at the beginning. But the truth is that daily life is what you live every day. If one person likes peace and calm, and the other person likes chaos and constant activity, well, of course, that person becomes a problem over time. If one person is responsible with money and the other spends everything, that becomes a stress. If one person wants to grow and the other stays the same, that creates distance. Yeah, I've seen that. The small differences become big problems later. Yeah, and people ignore those small things at the beginning because they are focused on feelings, like they are blind. But those small things are the ones that define your life later. Let me tell you something that most people don't say clearly. You need to respect the person you choose. And even more, you need to admire them because attraction can disappear, emotions can change, but respect is what keeps the relationship strong long term. If you don't respect how that person thinks, how they act, how they handle life, then sooner or later you will start feeling disconnected. That's interesting because people usually talk about love, not respect. Yeah, but love without respect doesn't last. It becomes frustration, arguments, and distance. And admiration is even more important. You should feel like, I like how this person lives. I like how they think. I learned from them. If you don't feel that, then you're just attacked, not building something real. Another big mistake people make is ignoring red flags. Not small things, but clear behaviors that show you how that person really is. Like when someone gets angry very fast, or when they don't take responsibility for their mistakes, or when they don't respect your time or your boundaries. People see those things early, but they say, it's okay, it will change. And the truth is that most of the time, it doesn't change. Yeah, people always think things will be different later. Exactly. But relationships don't work like that. What you see at the beginning is usually the best version of that person. Let me tell you this, if there are problems at the beginning, those problems will grow later, not disappear. Let me say something that might sound simple, but it's very important. You should choose peace, not intensity. Because many people confuse drama with love. They think if it's intense, emotional, and sometimes painful, then it's real. But the truth is, the best relationships are calm, stable, and consistent. Not boring, but peaceful. That's hard to accept because people want excitement. Yeah, but excitement doesn't build a life. Stability does. You don't want someone who gives you the highest highs and the lowest lows. You want someone who gives you balance, support, and clarity. At the end of the day, choosing your partner is choosing your environment, your mental state, and your future at the same time. And the problem is, people take more time choosing a phone, a job, anything, or even a place to eat than choosing the person they will spend years with. But let me tell you something, that decision is not just emotional, it's one of the most important strategic decisions of your life. I agree. You know what I've noticed? I've noticed that many people don't actually choose their partner. They just stay with the person who was there at the right moment. It's like it just happened, and then they continue without really thinking. That's exactly it. It's good that you have noticed that. And that's more common than people want to admit. A lot of relationships are not built from a clear decision, they are built from momentum. You meet someone, you spend time together, you get used to each other, and suddenly you are in a relationship, not because you chose it carefully, but because it was the easiest thing to continue. And the problem with that is simple. Listen carefully. If you didn't choose consciously, you will question it later. There is something very dangerous that happens in relationships, and it's comfort. Not healthy comfort, but passive comfort. You get used to the person, you get used to the routine, and even if something feels off, you stay because it's familiar. It's not the best situation, but it's known. And for many people, something known feels safer than something uncertain, even if that uncertainty could lead to something better. Yeah, I know. I've seen people stay in relationships just because they don't want to start over, not because they are happy. Exactly. And that's where years of life disappeared. Not because something terrible happened, but because nothing changed. Okay, let me ask you something important. Have you ever seen someone change completely because of their partner? Not in a good way, but in a way where they slowly stop being themselves. Like they talk differently, they act differently, they stop doing things they used to love. That's one of the clearest signs that something is wrong because the right person doesn't reduce you, the right person expands you. I like that phrase, and yeah, that's true. But sometimes people don't even notice that change. It happens slowly. Exactly. It's not one big moment, it's the small things over time. You stop saying what you think to avoid problems. You stop doing what you like because it creates tension. You start adjusting your personality just to keep peace. And one day you look at yourself and think, this is not me anymore. Another thing that affects this decision more than people think is external pressure: family, friends, society. Everyone has an opinion. They always have an opinion. People ask questions like, when are you getting married? Or, is this person serious? And suddenly you feel like you need to decide fast. But this is your life, not a public decision. And you need to understand that. Yeah, people rush because they feel like time is running out. Exactly. But choosing the wrong person fast is worse than choosing the right person slowly. Time pressure creates bad decisions. Clarity creates good ones. Let's talk about something very real that people avoid at the beginning: money and values. Because it's uncomfortable, but it matters a lot. How does this person see money? Do they save or do they spend everything? Do they think long term or only about the present? Because, and this is something very true, love doesn't pay bills. And if you are not aligned in these things, it becomes a stress. Yeah, I've seen couples fight more about money than anything else. Yes, because it's not just money, it's values behind money. It's how you see life, responsibility, priorities. And if those don't match, it creates constant tension. Here's something very important that most people don't notice early. What happens when you start growing, when you improve, when you want more, when you change your mindset? Does that person support you or do they feel uncomfortable? Because not everyone is ready to grow with you. Some people prefer the version of you that is easy to control, not the version that is evolving. Think about it. That's strong because that's when relationships break, right? Yeah, you're right. Because growth creates distance. If both people are not moving in the same direction, let me tell you something that hurts more than arguments: silence. Not peaceful silence, but emotional distance. When you are with someone, but you feel alone. When you stop sharing things, when conversations become empty, when everything feels routine. And to be honest, that is more dangerous than fighting. Because at least in a fight, there is emotion. But in silence, things slowly die. And it's sad. There's one question that many people avoid asking themselves because they are afraid of the answer. The question is, if I met this person today with everything I know now, could I choose them again? That question is powerful because it removes the past, the time invested, and the attachment. It shows you the truth. That's a hard question. Not everyone wants to answer that honestly. I know, because sometimes the answer is not what you want to hear. At the end of the day, this decision is not about finding a perfect person. You know why? Because that doesn't exist. It's about choosing someone who is right for your life, not just your emotions. Someone who makes your life more stable, more clear, more peaceful, not more confusing, stressful, or uncertain. Because life is already difficult. Your partner should not make it harder. Let me leave you with this and really think about it. You are not just choosing a person to love, you are choosing a person to build with, to struggle with, to grow with, and sometimes to suffer with. So choose someone who makes all of that easier, not heavier, because one decision can change the next 10, 20, or 30 years of your life. So now I want you to answer this honestly, not for me, for yourself. Is the person you're with right now bringing you peace or just taking your time? Write it in the comments. Congratulations! To continue improving your English skills, click on the next video or watch our full list of videos.